Now that you're here at Grief to Growth, I'd like to ask you to do three things. The first thing is to make sure that you like, click notifications, and subscribe to make sure you get updates from my YouTube channel. Also, if you'd like to support me financially, you can support me through my tip jar at grief2growth.com. It's grief, the number 2, growth.com/tip jar. Or look for tip jar at the very top of the page or buy me a coffee at the very bottom of the page, and you can make a small financial contribution. The third thing I'd like to ask is to make sure you share this with a friend through all your social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Thanks for being here. Close your eyes and imagine. What if the things in life that cause us the greatest pain, the things that bring us grief, are challenges? Challenges designed to help us grow, to ultimately become what we were always meant to be. We feel like we've been buried, but what if, like a seed, we've been planted? And having been planted, we grow to become a mighty tree. Now, open your eyes. Open your eyes to this way of viewing life. Come with me as we explore your true, infinite, eternal nature. This is Grief to Growth, and I am your host, Brian Smith. Hey there, I wanted to make this video and talk about a concept that can be confusing to people and actually can be upsetting. And I wanted to see if I can help people understand it. It can be somewhat difficult to understand. And the reason I'm bringing this up is recently a video of mine that I did with Natalie Sudman, I think about a year or so ago. She's talking about being in the spirit world, and looking down at her body after it's been mangled by an attack, an IED that had blown her up, and kind of playing around with various ideas of what injuries she was going to have when she came back. And this has been upsetting to at least one person that I've been engaged in a conversation with. And I know it was kind of shocking to me when I first heard it, because we hear these things like Natalie's like, well, maybe we'll make her blind, or maybe we'll make her, lose an arm or a leg or something, and see how she gets along, in life with that. And this person thought that this was a very cavalier way of looking at things, and it's not cool to think about torturing other people for our own amusement. So the first thing I want to say about this is I think sometimes people miss the point is Natalie was doing this to herself. We choose these things for ourselves. So it's not like there's some puppet master up there that's getting off on torturing us, but we do these things, we choose these things, I believe, ourselves. I think that this world is a world of duality, pleasure and pain, good and bad, hot and cold, light and dark. We choose this world of duality, and I think for a reason. I'll get into some of the reasons later. But keep in mind that everything that we experience here is temporary. And on a certain level, that even while we're going through all the trials and tribulations that we're going through here, on another level, things are okay. And we have to learn to think about things, and this is difficult sometimes, from both levels at the same time. We really, as we're in this world, we get so caught up with it, and we identify so heavily with our body, and we think things here are permanent, that when we hear something like this, it's shocking to our system, because we would say, why would I plan something like this? Why would I plan to have a quote permanent injury? In my case, my daughter passed away 6 years ago. Why would I plan for something like this to happen? Because it's permanent. It's going to affect me for the quote rest of my life. So the thing is, when Natalie was in this other environment, when we're outside of this body, when our ego is stripped away, when we're not attached to this body, we see things from a different perspective. I think we see things, we take them a lot more lightly. We don't take them as seriously. And we realize that everything that we're going through here is temporary. And I used an analogy when I was speaking with this person about a video game. And now the thing about analogies is they're not perfect, but they are good, and they can help us to understand things. So Shayna loved to play video games. I love to play video games. And when you're playing a video game, and some of them are totally immersive now, right? Some of them with a virtual reality, you can literally feel like you're in the game. When you're playing a game, you get connected to your character, and you sweat, and you struggle, and your heart rate increases as you're going through the game, and you can kind of identify with that character. Now, again, the thing is that character is not sentient, at least as far as we know. So when we torture those characters, it's not a bad thing. But Shayna, when we were playing Mario Brothers, she'd like to pick up the other characters and throw them in the lava. And we were like, Shayna, this is, and she just thought it was so amusing. Now, the thing is, we're all sitting there on the couch, and no one's really getting thrown in the lava, but our character is getting thrown in the lava. And that's kind of, I believe, we're in the spirit world, and we look at these bodies, and we realize that that's just an avatar. The body that we're in is simply a vehicle that we use to get around in this world. We say, I want to go to this environment. I want to experience what Earth is like. So what do I need? I need a body. So I'm going to connect to this body. And if you've watched the movie Avatar, I think it's a great also analogy of how it works. We are actually in these bodies and we feel and we communicate through these bodies, but we have to remember that these bodies are not us. Another analogy I like to use is the analogy of dreams. I'm starting to have more lucid dreams, and it's really kind of fun to play around when you're in a lucid dream. Because sometimes I'll be in a dream and I'll look around and realize that the world around me I've constructed in my mind. I realize, and it's really fascinating. You think about, I can feel the sun on my face, I can feel the ground underneath my feet, but it's quote all in my head. And when I wake up in the morning, and no matter how much peril I've been in the dream, no matter how embarrassed I've been because I've done some really silly things in dreams, no matter what, I wake up and I say, oh, that was just a dream. That was just in my head. What if this world is a little bit like that? When we wake up in spirit, when our bodies die, we look back at this world and say, oh, wow, that was just a dream. That was just a short experience. That was all in my head. And the teaching, A Course in Miracles, actually even talks about this world as basically being a dream world. Now, here's the thing. When we say things like this, people can take it to an extreme and say, okay, well, in that case, since nothing here is real, since the pain isn't real, since it's all only temporary, since all the people around me are just characters in my head, maybe, then it's okay for me to torture people. It's okay for me to let people suffer. It's okay for me to steal and rob and do whatever. That's not true either. While we're in the game, we have to play by the rules of the game. And the existence that we live in does have rules. We are not here to be cruel to each other. We are not here to hurt each other. We are here to, I believe, to learn love and to learn to take care of each other. And I believe the challenges that we accept when we come here, we are here to overcome. So we set up these challenges so that we can overcome them. So which leads to the question, why are we here? And it's a great question because sometimes people will say, we're here to grow. And then other people will say, well, for perfect beings, then why do we need to grow? But I think we can learn to grow in our capacity, again, for love and compassion. And to have that, to be able to show compassion to someone, for example, there has to be something lacking, something that we can offer to them. In order to be a caretaker, there has to be someone that needs to be taken care of. And also, I think we learn by overcoming these challenges. You think about another analogy I like is like going to the gym. All right, so when we go to the gym, we put weights on the bar and we're pushing the bar, and the bar is heavy and it can be painful. We might even be sore the next day, but we do it to build our strength. We do it to improve our bodies. Obstacle course is another great example. You know, we set up an obstacle course. What would an obstacle course be with no obstacles? There would be nothing to overcome. And when we play these games with ourselves, when we play video games, when we go on an obstacle course, when we're lifting weights, we like overcoming these challenges. Human beings like being creative. We like overcoming challenges. So that's why I think we set these things up for ourselves. So I'm hoping that this is going to help some people that are struggling with the concept of like why we would choose to do these things. And I don't believe anyone else is doing them to us. I don't believe we're like puppets and they're being used for someone else's amusement. I think that we set these things up for ourselves. And if you have this approach, if you think of it this way, to me, it makes more sense out of the crazy things that we go through in life. It makes more sense for me when something happens to me, I start to think of what is this doing for me? And even if it's not necessarily for me, but how can I take this and transform it into something? How can I overcome this? And what's the lesson in this? And why might I have set this up for myself? Why might I have decided I was going to face this challenge? And what should my response be? So I hope that helps overcome or kind of explain this concept and play around with it in your head. And don't take it to either extreme. We do get caught up in the finality and the seriousness of this world and the permanence of it, and that's not true. But on the other hand, it's not a joke either. It's not just a game. It's not just a dream. There are things that we're supposed to do when we're here. We are supposed to take care of each other. It does not make it okay to hurt anyone. So I want to make that very, very clear. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.